it's very naive just to think you overthrow the Revolutionary Guard or regime change and then all is sweetness and light. What is much more likely is a civil war with various groups competing for power and a huge score setting with lots of people getting killed for what they've done over the past 10, 15 years.
President Trump has issued an ultimatum saying that Iran must do two things to avoid military action. It must stop its nuclear program and it must stop killing protesters. It comes as the Home Office confirmed new legislation to prescribe Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist group. It's now going to be added to the EU's list alongside Al-Qaeda, Hamas and Islamic State. Responding to this, Iran's foreign minister called it a major strategic mistake. There have been calls to make the IRGC a prescribed group for a very long time, and governments have traditionally resisted, partly because it's seen as a way of maintaining some kind of diplomatic relationship with Iran, and partly because it's not clear what it would achieve, except potentially increasing the risk threat from Iran. But I guess, Michael, given what's happened in Iran in recent weeks, there's really nowhere for the government to go on this.
No, there isn't. It's absolutely the right move. I mean, it's as you said, it won't actually achieve very much. It won't curb the brutalities of this group, but it will show a total disgust with what they've been doing and a horror, the kind of cruelty, just completely without limits, just machine gunning people on the streets and things of that kind. It also makes the point that basically the government is run by the Revolutionary Guard. They're the guys in charge. I mean, they are totally in charge of all military operations. They also have their fingers in almost every economic pie that's going, though there's not much going on in the economy at the moment. But they are the force within Iran, and I think if one wants to show disgust at what's happening, it's the right target to pick on.
Yes, I mean, I think, in fact, the debate has moved on from whether or not the IRGC should be prescribed to whether the government should do it in short order or take its time, as it appears to be doing. But in some ways, the other reason this is irrelevant, Cindy, is because in the next few days, America could strike Iran. I can't see how they can row back, given how much military hardware they've moved to the region.
Absolutely, and Donald Trump hasn't stayed quiet about that on Truth Social either, which I don't know how his security apparatus really thinks about all of that, the president leaking all the plans. But of course, from the British side, we also have the security relationship, and so we know when they're moving things. There's a jet called the Nuke Sniffer, which apparently can sniff nuclear weapon usage in the air. Or sorry, not nuclear, but kind of radiation in the air. That's been now moved to the UK. And that the last time it was moved was just before the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So clearly something's going on, and given what happened with Venezuela early in the year, we know that this administration has the capacity to do a very lightning strike. My concern with all of this stuff is that it's just kind of a Western kind of overconfidence that you can make things better through military strikes and through regime change without the follow-up questions of what comes after. You know, if the IRGC and the ayatollahs really do get overthrown in Iran, what do we think will happen after that? Is the Shah, the return of the Shah, if that is even on the card, is that really better for Iranian people? So this kind of democratic transition, I think we living in mature democracies can be very, very almost a bit overconfident, blasé about. But it's actually very, very hard to achieve it successfully.
No, it's very naive just to think you overthrow the Revolutionary Guard or regime change and then all is sweetness and light. What is much more likely is a civil war with various groups competing for power and a huge score setting with lots of people getting killed for what they've done over the past 10, 15 years. And I think you will find that there's also ethnic division between all the various groups that make up Iranian citizens who've had some fairly long grievances between each other. It's just no good just bombing things. That doesn't change things at all. And it depends what you bomb. I suppose you could bomb the military headquarters of the Revolutionary Guard. They seem to have bombed most of the nuclear installations already.
But they've gone quite quiet about that, haven't they? About whether or not that was effective.
And I mean, it's not clear what Trump is actually asking them to do. I mean, he's bombed the installations. He said they don't have a program because we destroyed it. Now he's saying they've got to sign a deal for a nuclear agreement. Well, how can they sign it when they haven't got one? I mean, clearly it's an attempt to just talk tough and be tough and try to take out the government. And those others in the Gulf are pretty nervous. All America's friends and allies in the Arab world are saying, well, look, don't do it. It's not actually... But I think he will do it.
Let's talk about China. Keir Starmer is on the third day of his trip to China. He's now in Shanghai, continuing his attempts at building a more sophisticated relationship with President Xi. He's been pretty positive about how it's all gone so far, but somebody else has got a bit of a downer. Donald Trump has warned the Prime Minister not to get ahead of himself.
Well, it's very dangerous for them to do that, and it's even more dangerous, I think, for Canada to get into business with China. Canada is not doing well. They're doing very poorly. And you can't look at China as the answer. I know China very well. I know President Xi is a friend of mine. I know him very well, but that's a big hurdle to go over.
Well, trenchant analysis there from Donald Trump about relationships with China. Cindy, you write very regularly about China in your columns on The Times. You and I share, I suspect, a similar view, which is that the kind of wild conspiracy theories about China are slightly overdone, and this is a sensible thing for the Prime Minister to be doing.
Yeah, and the discussion around it has been, pretty breathless, let's say. But I think we need to just take a step back and understand that actually this trip in itself isn't meant to be the be-all and end-all. He's not going there, coming back with, horses and carts like some kind of imperial, visit from a foreign capital. It's about normalizing relationships. It's about saying that it's okay for two leaders of the country to be meeting each other, to be talking to each other when these two countries are both part of the global economy and both important players in the global economy. So part of the coverage today that's come out said, is that it? Like, is this all we've got is visa-free travel or bans on Chinese engines or whatever it is? Well, no, the point isn't this particular visit, I think. And the point is, what kind of background music, what kind of relationship are we striking with China? And yeah, it is important to know that actually the US and other European countries are doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah, and Michael, as a former diplomatic editor, you'll have views on this. The Prime Minister's caught between a rock and a hard place. One community wants him to talk about human rights. They're very important. Jimmy Lai imprisoned in Hong Kong, the Uyghurs. But and another constituency saying he hasn't come back with enough good deals with the Chinese. How do you navigate this?
Well, I think Starmer's played it pretty cool, actually. I think he's got it just about right. He's come back with some good, not overwhelming, but good trade deals. He's been polite. He's understood that you don't go straight into Beijing and start lecturing your hosts about what you perceive as terrible human rights crimes. And you have a few quiet words in private, which apparently he did, and they were listened to, which is sensible, and I think it possibly may pay off. We'll see whether quietly Jimmy Lai is released from prison in a few weeks' time. It may happen. It obviously won't happen in a blaze of publicity. He's played it just right, and I think those attacking the visit are being extremely opportunistic and short-sighted, and nothing is more hypocritical than the attack by Trump. I can't believe it. He's going there himself in a month or so, and the idea that nobody else should have a relationship with China is totally absurd.
Now, that is true. And I think the other interesting thing as a sort of course correction is not only is it sensible for Keir Starmer to engage with the Chinese government, but it's now becoming, Cindy, cool to adopt Chinese habits, as it were. Tell us, you've written about Gen Z putting on social media that it's cool to be Chinese. They're China maxing. Yeah,
it's called China maxing. There's also iterations of it, which is like becoming Chinese, or you've met me at the very Chinese time in my life, or I don't even call it Chinatown anymore. I just call it town because that's how Chinese my brain has become. All these kind of memes that Gen Z are sharing and creating on TikTok, but also on Instagram, on X. So all of kind of bizarre stuff, which is also quite funny because it's so stupid, but you've then ended up with seeing American TikTokers drinking hot water instead of cold water, wearing slippers at home, which I just personally think that's a sign of civilization, instead of wearing your outdoor shoes, and yeah, all of these things that as I write, my family grew up with, just bog standard habits, and they are taking on and seeing it's cool. It's great because the Japanese and the Koreans have had it so good now for so many years, and it's time for the Chinese soft power to be coming in.
I've been to China 3 times in the last year, and one of the things I enjoy most is that the Chinese toast at every opportunity. So you sit down for a great meal, and every 3 minutes you stand up and toast each other.
You're not actually there to eat, are you, Ed? You're just there to toast and say how much you like the company of everyone else. And you have to do it to the group and to individual people.
That's right, and you
Takes
wander
a long
around
time.
the table. It's fantastic.
Food
now,
gets
I've
cold.
just joined the social media site Red Note, which is a Chinese site, and I've done it for my ego, Michael.
Very good.
Because Sir Vince Cable, who's almost as old as you,
Yes.
has 80,000 followers just by kind of shuffling around wearing a trilby.
Good heavens.
I mean, Cindy.
Maybe I should do that.
Well, exactly. So Cindy is gonna join you to Red Note. Cindy, what should Michael do to try and match?
I didn't
Vince
know that
Cable's
Vince Cable was on Red Note. He doesn't come up on my
80,000
algorithm.
80,000 followers, yes. I haven't got a single one because I'm not on any of these
What
platforms.
can we do to make Michael Binyon China Max?
Yes. Do you think I should start visiting Chinese restaurants every evening? I mean, they're very nice.
I think what you do is, and this is a business plan I've had for a long time if journalism doesn't work out, which is to take the most British person you can think of and, get them to explain their life on Chinese social media because people will lap that.
Ah, yes.
Because
that'd
in
be very
China, they're
interesting.
still
Yes,
British maxing.
Yes. Well, in fact, there's some stars that nobody in Britain's ever heard of who were the people who went out there about 15, 20 years ago and appeared on Chinese television teaching English. And apparently they have millions and millions of followers. They're terribly well known. Everybody found they were very well, and they're completely unknown in this country.
I mean, the odd thing, obviously, about the coverage of China in the UK is that the Chinese do quite like us, and 1 in 5 foreign students is Chinese. I addressed a group of Chinese students the other day, and my Chinese friend said, "Say this phrase in Chinese." And they will absolutely go
Gosh,
bananas.
what was it?
Have you eaten yet?
And what was it in Chinese, Ed?
I can't remember. It's the most difficult language on the planet. But have you eaten yet? Well, it's a
Ni
treat.
chi le ma?
Nuchilima.
Yes, very good. And what was the result? Were you then expected to
I got a
provide the
standing
food?
ovation.
But did you provide the food for them?
They had already eaten.
Oh, gosh.
So, Binyon, you're going to start your first Red Note video with Hajilima?
Yeah, well, I might, yes. But, yes, well, who will come and feed me?
Well, we'll just follow you around your life, Michael, as you go to your lovely restaurants and nice
very
clubs
elegant.
and wear your nice
yes,
jackets. They
yes.
would love that.
Well, I can sort of pretend to be the English gent. Well, pretend is the word. Pretend.
Well, this is all brilliant. And Ken, my lovely texter who texts us a lot, he's back on good terms with me. He says he likes me again. I'm at home wearing slippers and listening to Chinese Rocks by Johnny Thunder and the Heartbreakers. That's how down with the kids I am. He also has very bad flu.